This week on SUTV Overtime, football looks to rebound in a rivalry game with Westchester. We sat down with Coach Mack to get his feelings on the game.
Field hockey and women's soccer picked up wins on senior day, including a shutdown of Mercyhurst and a historic win against Westchester.
And men's soccer headed back to overtime this weekend. Would they eke out the win?
All of that and more next on SUTV Overtime.
Hi, everybody. Great to have you with us. Jacob Hitz, Patrick Ramsdale here with you. Another great week of sports has come and gone. Let's dive right into it. Let's take a look back at this last week with our Ship in 60. We start with football on the road at Shepherd. Musina in the shotgun takes the snap. He's going to look for the end zone and find Xavier Roman. He fights through the pass interference, makes the grab in the end zone for 20 yards. Rough day at the office, though, for the Raiders. They go down 59-27. To Shepherd, 4-1 on the season. They come back to town this weekend.
Corner at the end of the game for field hockey. Wink is going to pass out to Albright, over to Slemmer, back to Albright. She's going to take a shot. It's going to bounce around a little bit, and it's going to be Kayla Williams who finds the back of the net at the end of the game. 12-0 win for the Raiders.
That's the second time that field hockey has an untimed goal at the end of the game in a week. This is a pass from Maddie Stichter to KK O'Donnell to put the Raiders on the board. They go on and beat Westchester in women's soccer for the first time since 2007, 3-1.
Men's soccer now. Alex Petty is going to send a long ball into Seth Crabb, who's going to head it over to Griffin Redding, who's going to kick this one right into the bottom corner. The Raiders are going to tie the game for that one, and they're going to go back into overtime, a common theme for this men's soccer team.
They didn't completely go through all of overtime. Westchester scored to win the game, so men's soccer now sits, I believe, at 3-2 on this season, something like that. They play, while we're recording this, tomorrow night. They play Wednesday night against Jefferson. Overall, though, field hockey, women's soccer, both getting the wins on senior day. A great win for women's soccer up against really a rival in Westchester. That's only their fifth win in program history against the Golden Rams. They've really struggled.
Yeah, and if you ask anyone on pretty much any team here, but especially like soccer, field hockey, and football, Westchester is that big rivalry game, and everybody wants to beat Westchester. And women's soccer finally got to do that again.
And we're knocking all of that out this week, right? Because women's soccer just played Westchester. Field hockey, as we are recording this, is playing Westchester. And football, they return home. They play Westchester in what is set to be an incredible game. 4-1 and 4-1 coming into tonight. Shippensburg losing to Shepherd. Westchester lost to Bentley. So they're undefeated in the PSAC, technically above Shippensburg in the East rankings. It's a must-win for Ship if you're looking at playoffs. But even for momentum, I think Ship looking good. This is the best start to a season that they've had since they last beat Shepherd back in 2015. Or not Shepherd, Westchester. Wrong Rams.
Yeah, and this is definitely, we've talked about this middle stretch of the season that they're in right now and how important it is for their season. This Westchester game, it's tough to say on the sixth game of the year, but their entire postseason pretty much rests on this game. It's pretty much a must-win in the middle of the season for Shippensburg, and it's going to be an incredible game to watch, especially after that loss to Shepherd. Ship had a lot of momentum going into that game, 4-0, especially after Shepherd had just lost, but just not a good outcome for the Raiders.
But you have to look at who Shippensburg has played in these first 4 weeks, right? They played Clarion, they played Edinboro, they played Bloomsburg, who they clobbered. West Virginia State was the only close game that they had at the beginning of the season. Bryson Musina didn't even start in that game. He got put in midway through the second quarter. You got to wonder if Ship just maybe wasn't in the right mindset playing a tougher team like Shepherd.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we had talked about last week as well, is that Shepherd was going to be the first real test for Shippensburg, and they did not do very well on that test. But they've gotten that game against a tough opponent out of the way. They know what to expect going into Westchester, because Westchester, obviously not a bad team, 4-0 in the PSAC so far. But I do think Shippensburg has a legitimate shot of beating Westchester this weekend.
Well, and Westchester is coming off a last-minute touchdown against Bloomsburg to win the game. They were down 20-14 with a minute left. Westchester marched it on down the field. They ran it in from about 20 yards out. They were able to score in that last minute to win the game. You're looking at Westchester winning by 1 point against a team that Chip beat by almost 50. If you're Shippensburg, you got to sit back and think, oh, well, maybe Westchester isn't as good as they have been in the past. Remember, they were ranked when they played Shippensburg here 2 years ago. So, really, Shippensburg, they haven't played a weaker Westchester in quite some time.
Yeah, and I think even though regardless, you classify Westchester as a weaker Westchester team, they're still a competitive team. But I know Coach Mack, he's pushed on this team that, you can't take them lightly, and it's a big game for them. And we actually got the chance to sit down with Coach Mack earlier today. Got an interview with him. We'll roll that right now. So getting started, last weekend, obviously not the result the team wanted, but what are some positives that you can take away from the game?
Well, here's what I'll say is that we did some good things. We started the game off pretty exciting with the kickoff return for a touchdown. That's the way we wanted to start. But we never quit playing. We just had to fight a little bit harder for 4 quarters than what we did. So it was a great learning experience for us. Shepherd is a very good football team, and we had opportunities, just couldn't capitalize on them. And we couldn't keep the ball. As far as the offense goes, we had some 3 and outs in the beginning of the game, and then defensively we couldn't get off the field on 3rd down. So with that combination, in the first quarter, that kind of hurt us with our momentum.
Yeah, and looking ahead, a big rivalry game coming up against Westchester. How does the prep this week compare to others, knowing how much this game means to not only the players but the campus as well?
Yeah, I mean, we prepare very hard every week, so but you're right. This is Westchester week, and it means a lot to all of us. So we have to do our part, and our guys. We had a meeting on Sunday, and we talked about what we need to do to be successful this weekend. So it started on Sunday, and we have to carry it through the entire week. And then on Saturday, all the hard work that we put in, hopefully will pay off.
And Westchester has proven to be a difficult opponent during your time here, going 2-8 with the last one coming in 2015. How's the team trying to end this streak this weekend?
Well, the biggest thing is we've played really close games with them, for the most part. And, it's just we have to eliminate mistakes. And that is what we need to do against Westchester, whether it's penalties, whether it's just mistakes that we make on the field. So we have to reduce those to be successful because they're a good football team. And, both teams get excited about this game. And so that's the biggest thing going into this is, we just have to eliminate our mistakes and make sure that we're all on the same page.
And the team is in the middle of a tough stretch, playing Shepherd last weekend and then having Westchester and Kutztown coming up. How do you keep the team ready, both physically and mentally? Yeah,
here's what I tell you. To keep them ready mentally, the thing is that this is our season. You know what I mean? And this is the 3-game stretch that we know that we have to perform well. Now, we didn't do as well as we wanted to last Saturday. So, the thing is to learn from that game and then move on. And I think the mental part of that is very important. So we are a good football team, and we just need to play better and put it on the field. So the mental part, I think these guys are in a good spot. They understand that they didn't play well last Saturday. And then the physical spot, seeing the trainer and taking care of them in the weight room and doing things like that to keep their bodies good. And again, it comes down to them preparing too. They have to eat right, hydrate, and get their sleep, all that kind of stuff. So it's a big week for us.
It was great sitting down with Coach Mack. Hopefully we will have him back here a few more times throughout the rest of the season into the studio.
It's always great to bring the coaches in just to get their perspective because really we don't often hear a lot from them. We want to talk to the players a lot, but we don't often get the time to speak with the head coach. So it's great to bring Mack in and hopefully we will hear from him again soon, maybe even next week after the Westchester game. Just have to wait and see. Let's move on now. Let's talk about field hockey. Senior day against Mercyhurst. They showed no mercy in that game. 12-0 the final score. Jenna Schlemmer had 4 goals. Yaz had a hat trick, I think, in there. They just kept pouring it on. They struggled in that first quarter, but after the second quarter, after Yasmin Petrantonio was able to find the back of the net, it just kept coming and coming and coming.
Yeah, and it was one of those games that you were looking at the schedule, and you're like, this one is not going to be, it's not going to be pretty. And you look back a few years ago when Mercyhurst was, still a decent team, Shippensburg was able to, completely run over that team, and I believe that was the game that Yasmin Petrantonio ended up scoring 6 goals in a game, a PSAC record. But then you look at the schedule this week, going into that game, Mercyhurst was 0-9, and that first quarter you were maybe not a little bit worried, but it was not as you thought it would be, kind of more of a runaway game right off of the start. But that first quarter was a little closer than everyone had hoped, and then right towards the end of that first half, the scoring just started to, the floodgates opened.
Ship struggled to find the back of the net in that first quarter. Yaz had a ton of shots that missed the net, and you're like, what's going on? She found it in the second quarter, and it's like when she found that, the rest of the team clicked, and they were just off to the races. It was 3-0 at that point. It wound up being 12-0 by the end of that game, thanks to that untimed goal at the very end from Kayla Williams. But they were able to spread the ball around a lot, too. It wasn't just Yaz, and it wasn't just Jenna that were scoring. You had Valu Paul, who found the back of the net. Kayla Williams found it. It was pretty even across the board. It's just, okay, it's your chance to score. It's your chance to score.
Yeah, I believe if my memory serves me right, I believe it was 5 different Raiders ended up scoring in that game. You had 4 from Jenna, 3 from Yasmin Petrantonio, 2 from Valu, I believe 2 from Kayla Williams, and I think Tori Albright ended up getting one as well.
I think so, yeah. It just a lot of people scored. It's so many, it's tough to keep track of how many people scored. Clearly, since we can't really remember, but nonetheless, a great win for field hockey. We'll talk about the Westchester game on Thursday night's show. Should be a good one. I know that's going on right now as we speak. We don't really know what's going on. When we started, Shippensburg was leading 1-0 in the first quarter after a goal from Jenna Schlemmer. Go figure, she was PSAC East Athlete of the Week in field hockey. Things just keep rolling.
Yeah, and that Mercyhurst game, it was just a treat to watch, and especially before the game during their senior night celebration. Beforehand, while the seniors were walking out with their parents, Yasmin Petrantonio, her parents had, I believe it was the first collegiate game they'd seen her play here in Shippensburg, and Yasmin had no idea that her parents were there, and that was a really awesome moment to watch.
They hit her parents in the back of the line, even though Yaz was not at the end of the line, brought him up. Great moment for all of us to see that were there. Let's move on now to women's soccer. They're turning things around, beating Westchester for the first time since 2007. It had been a long time in the making. It was the longest losing streak that Shippensburg has ever had against Westchester. It was an incredible game just because, Westchester, you thought that they would come in, clean up shop, and do what they needed to do. Shippensburg scored early and hung around all day long.
Yeah, and I think for Shippensburg that game is really going to be the momentum shift for their season. They'd started off a little bit slow, but I think beating Westchester, regardless of any sport, if you beat Westchester, you're going to have momentum for a little bit of games because it's a great feeling when you beat Westchester. They've
got a tough game coming up tomorrow on Wednesday against Mansfield. That should be a pretty good game as well. 2 teams that are going to be more evenly matched. Mansfield doesn't have the record to show it. I believe they're 1-4. But they have a solid team that they're going to be bringing here to Shippensburg. And Shippensburg, they're going to have to be ready for it. Even coming off of the big win, they got to get back to the grind and focus on this game.
Yeah, and I think regardless, you can never just look at a team's record and kind of go based off of that. And then you look at Mansfield, you said they were 1-4. You can't look at that record and just be like, oh, that'll be an easy game and just kind of take it easy. You have to treat every team like they're an undefeated team. You always, in the way that I kind of look at sports, you have to treat every game like you're the underdog. So that you can't be the team on top expecting that you're going to win every game, because then that's when you start losing some games, is when you expect that you're better than every other team.
Right. Well, we have a lot of soccer. Not only with women's soccer that we just talked about, a lot of soccer in this top 5, and you're going to see it right here. Our top 5 Ship plays for the week. Of course, number 5 involves Westchester scoring. We'll see it here.
Kick on the way. Off the post and in! What a goal from Craig Potts! Westchester on top, 1-0. Was that off the post, off the crossbar, and in? Wow!
Here's Here's the left-footed cross into the box area, and Shippensburg scores. Off of the corner kick, it curled, bend it like Beckham for Alex Petty.
Garrigle gets ahead. Schlemmer shot, goal! Jenna Schlumer. No.
Protect there at 122 Waverly Court in Martinsburg. Opening kick is fielded about the 2-yard line, and it's a big hole. Across the 30, this might go all the way. Midfield, 40 still on his feet. 30, 20, 10, 5, end zone, touchdown Shippensburg to begin the game. The Raiders take it back on the return.
Here's O'Donnell with a possible breakaway, one-on-one, shot, goal! What a shot from K.K. O'Donnell, and the Raiders take the lead 2-0. Off the post and in.
What did I say? A lot of soccer. You saw it right there. 3 out of those top 5 involving soccer. It had to get a little field hockey in there and a little bit of football in there, but man, soccer just dominated this weekend here for Ship.
Yeah, it was a great weekend to be a soccer fan here at Ship. A lot of action going on, some great games as well.
Let's get into our game balls for this week. What you got? We'll lead off with you.
So, kind of fitting with my theme from last week, my game ball for the week is going to go to a field hockey player, not Yasmin Petrantonio this week, but it's going to go to the PSAC East Field Hockey Athlete of the Week. It's going to go to Jenna Schlemmer. 4 goals, 2 assists in the game against Mercier. I think it's just the obvious choice here.
She really has dominated. The tag team between her and Yasmin Petrantonio has really led to a lot of goals for Ship, and may be one of the many reasons why they are the #1 team in the country for field hockey. My game ball this week, going to go to K.K. O'Donnell. 2 goals in that game against Westchester. She did a great job, had that pass from Stichter over to score the first one. You just saw the second one where she got all alone, took the shot in, and hooked it into the net to keep it away from the post. She had a great night all around, was the reason that Shippensburg was able to come away with the win, got that early goal, kept the momentum on their side. 3 goals on this season for O'Donnell, the lead scorer for the Raiders so far. Things are starting to come together now. Slow start, but they've got the ball rolling now.
Yeah, and they've got some time. They've definitely got enough games left in the season there where they can get stuff turned around and look towards the postseason.
How about the Crew? What do they got this week for us?
So our Crew pick for their game ball is going to go to Dante Witcher, PSAC East Special Teams Athlete of the Week, mainly because of that 99-yard kickoff return he had right at the beginning of the game. Other than that, though, he had 3 returns in the game against Shepherd for a total of 162 yards, so that's going to be the Crew's game ball for the week.
And I think that was the first return for the Raiders for a touchdown this year between kickoffs and punts. I don't think anybody's done it as of this point. All the other times that they've scored has either been the defense on a turnover or Messina throwing it or handing it off to somebody to take it the distance.
Or just running it himself.
Well, that's true. He did do that last week. It's going to be a lot of fun with the sports coming up this week. As I mentioned, Westchester and field hockey going on right now while we're recording this. Westchester in football coming to town on Saturday. Of course, we'll have live coverage of that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Cannot wait for that game. That was the first game that I called for SUTV. Last season, 2 years ago, was that game. It was an incredible game then, and I have a feeling this weekend it's going to be another incredible game.
I have a feeling this one might be even better than that last one.
Just have to wait and see. Well, it could be a lot better if Ship wins, too. They were within a touchdown 2 years ago. In fact, their last 2 games against Westchester, they've lost by 7 points in 2018, by 8 in 2019. So maybe this is the year that Ship pulls out in front. They haven't beat them since 2015. We'll just have to wait and see. Thank you all so much for watching Overtime this week. It's been a lot of fun. We'll be back next week with highlights and a whole lot more. For Patrick Ramsdale, I'm Jacob Hitz. Thank you for watching, and good night.